We have Minister in studio with us discussing some issues. I think a big focus for her, of course, is the SABC, as well as many other things, because her portfolio has her overseeing so many different institutions, and we'll try and touch on the majority of them. But let's try and wrap up the SABC conversation, because I think that is one that people see, that is one that people feel very passionately about. And of course, with what happened at Parliament and all of those things that were unveiled there, I mean, that obviously is at the heart and centre of taking this public broadcaster and turning it around. So many other ministers have tried and they have failed. Is there something in your mind, or some way of managing a situation that will ensure the success of this institution?
You know, Leanne, I've headed institutions before. And I think this is going to be one of the most difficult institutions to deal with, because, as you rightly say, over years the SABC, in some way or the other, has had problems, and it's not because of Hlaudi Motsoeneng or whoever who was a CEO before him and all of that. I think it's just a structural issue, amongst others, but also getting the right mix in terms of personnel at the helm of the SABC to ensure that the mandate is properly effected. But again, if there's a public mandate to the SABC, the funding of the SABC should also be taken into account.
Yeah.
So that we don't find ourselves in a situation where there are unfunded mandates, unfunded public events, unfunded public mandates, and the SABC is expected to raise money for that. Of course, there are revenue streams within the SABC. We just need to tighten that, look at where it is that we could be fostering and introducing new efficiencies into the system. For instance, license collection. And I got a message yesterday from someone saying that, well, improve your content and the functionality, then we'll pay the licenses. I'm not sure if that's the solution, but of course we still have to look at improving on content, improving on many things that our people say they'd like to see. We need to be very innovative, because you will know that if you've followed businesses across the world, the only time that a business keeps afloat is that if it's able to innovate. Now, that's what we need to be introducing into the SABC. I'm not sure whether there is a strong research and development component of the SABC. Because you can't rely on archaic methodologies, systems and processes, and hope that the organization will stay afloat.
Yeah.
We need to be on top of the game, introduce new stuff, innovate more, do a lot of research and development, and I'm sure that we will be able to have a very strong SABC. So I don't even want to put the problem on one individual or one set of a leadership team as being the only problem or the problem. I'd want to be a little more focused on the broader picture than looking at individuals. How does the system in itself work? How does the system foster a climate of change within itself and the culture itself of the
organization? It certainly is. I mean, what you're saying is so right, and what I think is comforting is that you do come as well from a corporate background. You've had experience in many corporates, so the running of an organization is something that you're very, very familiar with. But in terms of the individuals, and you bring up Hlaudi Motsoeneng, when I had a conversation with our interim board chair, she was very concerned about his position, whether or not he was still being paid by the SABC. Is he still employed by the SABC? Your views, I know you don't want to just talk about the individual, but he is one individual that many people are concerned about in his role here at the broadcaster. What do you know? I mean, is he still being paid? Is he still an employee of the SABC?
Well, I don't know. I have not met with Hlaudi. I have not spoken to the board about where he is and what he is doing. I do not know at this point. My meeting with the board really on the other day was really to make sure that the board comes on board and starts functioning. Today is the meeting where we will be discussing those points of where everybody is, who is on board, what do we do, the HR issues in a sense. HR and labor relations issues, in a sense, the conversation begins today. It does not end today.
Yeah.
The conversation begins today.
Good. Yeah, I could continue talking about the SABC, but there's so many other things that you are heading up. And the one I need to talk about is certainly the issue of Brand South Africa, because that falls under your responsibilities as well. And Brand South Africa is taking a bit of a hammering at the moment. And the morale in South Africans is very low. I think the cabinet reshuffle scared a lot of people. The downgrade to junk status scared a lot of people. Planned shutdowns around the country tomorrow, people voicing their dissatisfaction. What does that do for Brand South Africa?
I have had a chat with Brand South Africa. One of the things that we're looking at now is the domestic content of their work rather than the international focus. I've spoken to GCIS, I've spoken to Brand SA to say, I have not seen any work that related to what has happened over the last few days. The anxieties that we see all over, and it's not just anxiety because other people were happy with the reshuffle. How do we balance our messaging as government on that? Because the narrative that we seem to be concentrating on is that of negativity, but there is still positivity as well in this country. And those are the messages that we want to portray and project. Notwithstanding the fact that there are anxieties, I also do not want a situation where we perpetuate a story of doom and gloom. I don't believe that it is all doom and gloom. There are issues that people are raising. There are the marches that are coming through. There are a lot of positive things that will pass us by if we only concentrate on the negative. And I'm not that type of person. I look at the negative and I look at the positive and I chart a way forward. So I'm not going to be bogged down on the negativity only, but I will look at the other things that make our country tick. That my responsibility is to sell to the world, but also to sell to South Africans, to keep South Africans informed of what is going on in their country.
Yeah, it's a difficult job at a time like this, but
it is.
The reality is that the positivity needs to come, but the impression right now, and especially with the downgrade to junk status, is a big blow to South Africa and to our economy. And that's the one thing that is sacred to all of us. Politics aside, it's the economy that keeps us going, and yet we're seeing a lot of negativity around that, which needs to work.
You see, the unfortunate thing with this, Leanne, is that we all then concentrate on the negative.
Yeah.
Much as there has been a downgrade, there are companies that are saying we want to come to South Africa. Yeah. You know, one of the luxury brand manufacturers of vehicles wants to come to South Africa to set up its 4x4 plant here in South Africa.
Wonderful.
This is amidst all of the negativity. So I think our responsibility is also to give hope to our people, that notwithstanding this negativity, there is still hope.
Good.
There are people who look at this country as a potential economic hub for their businesses, as a potential growth point for their businesses. People would want to come and retire in South Africa. What are the positives rather than the negatives that we're always harping upon? And again, I don't want to make light of the negativities, but I would also want to make high of those things that would give hope to our people.
I have to leave it on that positive note, because I think that's the note that South Africans need at a time like this. They really do. Minister, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so
it's a
much.
big, difficult portfolio, but I think you seem to have it covered in your thinking. Ayanda Dlodlo is the Minister of Communications, joining us here. Remember that the Minister of Communications is in charge of so many things, whether it be GCIS, ICASA, SABC, Brand South Africa, Media Development and Diversity Agency, as well as the Film and Publication Board. So hands are full, but I think you're up for the task. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very, very much.